Hey, what's up guys, Bryce here, and we're back at it again for another video, and in this video I'll be showing you how to make a iRacing livery. The only thing you will need in this video is iRacing and Photoshop. Do be advised though that this tutorial is not really for Photoshop beginners. I've been using Photoshop and graphic design for over 5 years now, so I have a lot of experience in these programs. If you're new to this, maybe it's probably best to watch a few tutorials on the tools in Photoshop, just because I'm not going to be going over them, you know, crazy, being like this is the paint bucket tool, because most of you already know this if you've been using Photoshop. So just a heads up, but the actual tutorial itself, I'm going to be trying to go as slow as I can. So I will have two videos. This video is going to be the first one where I'll be going over the livery, and then the second video I'll be showing you how to do spec maps. Spec maps needs its own video. It is super important, and that will really make your car come to life. It's like the icing to the cake. So this video is split up into 4 chapters. You can see them in the timeline. We're going to be discussing choosing a baseline design for your livery, choosing those main colors and getting rid of jagged edges, viewing your changes or how to view your changes, and the decals and designs. And then the next video will be spec maps, which you can find down in the description below. So without further ado, let's get right into the tutorial. First thing you're going to do, open up iRacing so we can actually download the template for the car. You can do this in the iRacing launcher. If you have a second computer like me, I would really highly recommend downloading the UI, even if you don't play it, because you can download, you know, tons of stuff. You can see everything, so just advise that. Just to show you guys, these are the 2 liveries that I've made. We have this Ferrari Evolution Racing, and this is a variant. I made a livery reveal to this, which is a really sick video, so check that out in the description below as well. There's 3 color variations. This is the white one, and then they're both really nice in my opinion, and this is the Lamborghini that I made, Evolution Racing Lamborghini for the league. And yeah, that's pretty much that. I'm going to be doing this tutorial though in the Mazda Miata, because everyone has this car. It's a simple car and I have to update it, so I'm gonna update this and be right back. Okay, so I just updated the car. Make sure Trading Paints is closed. That's pretty important, because if Trading Paints is closed, you can't see the change that you're doing, because whatever Trading Paints livery you have is going to be open. So just make sure Trading Paints is closed. Now we're gonna go to car model here, and you can see the car here, and then go down to paint car. Now what we're gonna do is click here, show custom paint. If this is already off, don't worry about this, but if this is on, turn this off. What this will do is this will show you the default paints in iRacing, and this is really useful because we can choose a baseline design and kind of get inspiration on making a livery. So you can get an inspiration, you can get a nice baseline design to get your livery started. So we're going to go for this striped livery right here, just a simple striped livery just for the purpose of the tutorial. Now what you can do here is you can't have sponsors. The iRacing sponsors won't show, so I'm just going to turn those off. Okay, so I'm going to go with this, and I'm going to have this red metallic, the black be matte, and this white be chrome. So again, that's going to play a really important part when we go into the spec maps, but for now, this is a nice baseline design that I like. So now that we have this, I'm just going to press save car design. Again, this is not going to matter, but the reason why I'm saving is because now we're just going to go into this car model view, and we get a bigger view without having all the display. And we're going to have to turn this off. There we go. Okay. So now that we have the template downloaded, we are going to extract it because it's a RAR file, and then we can open it up. And this is going to load Photoshop. So here it is. Here is the car in Photoshop. Most people already know what this is, but just for those who don't, it's pretty much the livery, and it's flat, and then when it's imported into the game, it wraps around the wireframe, which is the car right here. This is the wireframe. So this first custom spec map folder, don't worry about this, we're not going to work with this today. And this, turn off before exporting TGA. Whenever you export this, just have this off. That's all you need to know. And the 2 most important things in here is the wireframe, because let's say you're doing a design here, you want to make sure you're not going into the door handle or the door panels. That's what that is for. And you can just see the outline of the car. It makes it a lot easier to see what you need to know about the car. You can obviously tell this green is a door panel, but with it off, you can't really tell anything. Next is a mask that just shows you where the edges are. You can have this on or off when you export it. It doesn't matter. Just make sure this wireframe is off, or that's going to show when you export it. Next up, we have the paintable area. This is another pretty important panel here. We have the car decals. So as you can see here, all of these sponsors here, you can turn that on or off, and this will be dependent on the car you're using. Some decals will be different. So car decals, we can have that on, off, up to you. These are the logos, the Mazda logos. Again, this will change depending on the car. The banner up top, you can do whatever you want. We have the cockpit color down there in that corner. And then here is where all the magic happens. We have the car patterns. This car pattern folder is all of these down here. So we're going to find this number 5 because we want to replicate this and put it into Photoshop. So car pattern number 5. Quick note, this starts at 0 and this starts at 1. So it's going to be car pattern number 4. I already know this is the car pattern I want, so I'm going to delete the rest of them. And there it is, car pattern 4. I'm going to delete the rest of them. And now we have car pattern 4. This is exactly what we want. Now what we're going to do is we're going to separate these colors so we can have them on individual layers so we can change the colors and do whatever the hell we want to them. So in order to do that, make sure you have the layer selected, and we're going to select each color, which would be the red, the black, and the green, but over here it's different colors because we want to change that. So have the layer selected, select color range. This selects a specific color in the image, red. Fuzziness, I have this around 100. You might have to raise or lower it depending. So if you raise it, it will include more. If you lower it, it will include less. So just be careful of that because it depends how many thin lines or pixels are in the image, but 100 seems pretty good. Press OK. Now Control J. What that will do is that will duplicate the selected layer, and now we have a layer just with the red. Click back on the car pattern, and we're going to do the same exact thing for the green and the blue. Green, select, Control J, back to the layer, select, color range, blue. Okay, and we are going to duplicate that. Once you have this, you can hide this, you can delete it, you can do whatever you want. I'm gonna delete it because we already have what we need now. So now we have the red, the green, and the blue. Red, green, blue. Base. The base color should be the main color. So the main color is going to be red. So you can do the two ways. You can use the paint bucket tool or a color overlay. Up to you. I usually do a color overlay. Double click, color overlay, and this will make the whole layer a certain color. So I'm going to use this red color. Okay. The only thing about the color overlay is you're not going to see it in the layers, but if you want to see it, rasterize layer style, and that'll make it the color. So now the base is that color. The reason why we do that is if you look very closely, if this isn't there, in between, there's no layer behind it, so that's why we do that. And then we're going to do the same thing for all of these. We want this to be white, but we're going to make it chrome. So that's going to be white. The green is going to be black, even though that looks pretty cool in white, but we're going to make it black. And then we are going to make the red, this custom, whoopsies. We're going to make the red, this custom base color. So now we have our custom colors, and boom, there you go. As you can see here, we have the colors we want, but this is not complete yet because I'm going to show you in a minute. I'm just going to rasterize all of these, and this is just so you can see the layers in real time, basically. So we have one issue with this though, and you'll definitely see this between liveries. First, let's export this so I can show you what the issue is with doing it in this method. So now what we're going to do is we're going to export this so you can see it on the car because we're still in iRacing. So you're going to go to File and Save as Copy. And then what you're going to do is you're going to locate your Miata. So it's in Documents, iRacing, Paint, and then M for Miata, alphabetical order by the way. And MX5 2016, I believe that is the one. And then now what we're going to do is you are going to save this as car underscore and your iRacing ID. That is what you are going to save it as. What's really important though is make sure that the save as type is Targa. You cannot save it as a Targa unless you do save as, or save as a copy. So make sure you do that. Car underscore your ID. So we're going to save it in the Mazda folder, car underscore your ID. Save, it's going to ask you for this bits per pixel. Leave it at 24, that is the default. And then in order to see your changes, press show custom paint. And then now this is what we have in Photoshop. So we have a couple of issues with this method, and this is bound to happen. So if you look very closely, and you can actually get a closer look at this, because we're not going to need all this menu. So click on the car and then go to car model. You can see it in a bigger picture. But if you see here, there's jagged edges here. And I have to go back here just to show you. But if we turn off this custom paint, you can see the default paint. There's no jagged edges. It's super smooth. So we're going to be fixing that right now, and I can show you how to do that. And that is a pretty useful, technique to try to fix that. So to fix those jagged lines, you can also see it here a little bit. If your lines aren't jagged, then you don't need to do this. But you can see here, it's kind of bad over here. So we're going to be fixing that. This process is a little bit confusing, but just bear with me, and this does work. So I'm only going to do it for the black and the white because the red is fine. So what you're going to do is select the layer you want to smooth out. Control click the layer, selecting it. Channels, create a channel mask. Click the mask. And then this doesn't need to be selected, so you can deselect it. Go to filter, blur. Whoops, do not click that. Filter, blur, Gaussian blur, not the lens blur. And then set it to around 2. That's what I find, but you might have to mess around with this based on how thick or thin the pixels are. 2. Then go to image, adjustments, and levels. And then you can mess around with this slider. And if you look at it, it's making it smoother or more, pixelated. Mess around with these both sliders. The numbers that I usually use is 115 and 200. This is what I use. Then select this alpha, layers, create a new layer, and then you're going to fill this with the same color. Fill. White, and we're going to fill it. And there you go. It is smoothed out. Let me show you the before and the after right here. So that is the before, and that is the after. So as you can see, it's a lot smoother. The only downside is it does get a little thinner, so you have to be careful with that. We're going to be doing it to this, and then I can show you how to fix this little gap in the middle. So smooth that one out. Now we're just going to smooth out the black. Same method, control, click, channels, create a channel mask, alpha number 2, because we're working with the second one now. We're going to go to filter, blur, Gaussian blur, 2. Then go to image, adjustments, levels. And again, I use 115 and 200, but mess around with this, but these are the numbers I use. Select it, go back, create a new layer, and then make sure you have the marquee tool, and then right click, fill, black. There you go. That's the before, that's the before, and that's the after. You can especially see here these pixels right here, a whole lot smoother. But the issue with that is now you have a little bit of a gap. You might like this, I don't know. I've had liveries where I just keep this little gap. In order to fix it, the black is thinned out, so all we're gonna do, select the black, go to select, modify, expand, and expand it by however many pixels you need to expand it by. I think 4 is what we need. And as you can see, what that does is that expands the selection. And then now, make sure you have black in the bottom color selector, and press Control backspace, and that will fill it. Drop the black below the white, and boom, there you go. We have no gaps. Looks a lot better. And then let's see our progress. File, save a copy. It's really useful to have the car pinned on the side here, so you don't have to go documents, paint, and then find the car again. So I'm gonna do that right now. This right here, and then Targa, save it, replace, okay. And then now, as you can see, it is a whole lot smoother. That's the best I'm able to get it, but it's definitely a lot smoother than before. And that is pretty much the first part of this. The second part I'll be talking about is once you have the colors you want and you've messed around with this, now I can show you how to add decals, which is pretty self-explanatory. The colors are the main important part. So yeah, so now sponsors. What you can do now is you can obviously change any of these layers and mess around with this. For sponsors and decals, your logos, whatever you want, what I do is I create a new folder and I call it decals. Then what I do is I go ahead and I find my logos, decals, whatever, and I drag them in, drag a few of these in. And then now we have all of our decals, put them in the decal folder. You can do whatever you want with this. So here we have the Evolution Racing logo, and you can, I'm not gonna use this one, use this one. And all you have to do is you can move it around and place it wherever you want. So I'm going to place this right here. And again, this is where the wireframe becomes useful because you don't know where that hood dips down. You don't want to go over that green line or then it's not going to be showing. So this is where that becomes useful. Put it in the middle here and then make it around that size. That looks pretty good. Then now we're going to see our changes. Turn that off, file, save as copy, and save it to that folder. And again, it's super useful having the car here. To copy the name without having to type it in again, press this, and then you have the name copied right there. Replace it, press OK. And I have these logos on, which isn't, I forgot to turn that off, but there you go. Here's the logo right here. It's not going to show because it's where the cockpit is in there, but there you go. You have the logo right here on the front, and you can add a bunch of logos and basically go crazy with this. That's the basics of making a livery. You can be as creative as you want with this with your skills in Photoshop, but just thought I'd show you the basics and how to actually get started. In the next video, I'll be showing you spec maps and how you can take this to the next level. So thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next video, guys. Bye bye.